watching Political Conversations.
Good evening and welcome to Political Conversations on Freedom Square TV. Of course, we are reaching you from our studios in Enugu. Enugu is the coal city state in Nigeria, and of course is the capital of Southeast Nigeria. And this evening we will be examining a rare topic, a topic that is close to my heart, and that is journalism. Incidentally, we'll be talking about a branch of journalism that is called political reporting. And that is one area that is making waves, if you like, in Nigeria currently, because as it is, Nigeria is navigating to 2027, which is actually an election year. But even now in 2026, the atmosphere is thick, is heavy, and is almost volatile. And so when you find yourself as a political reporter, you are actually in the eye of the storm most of the times. And so what actually is political reporting? And it is a specialized branch of journalism which is primarily focused on gathering, analyzing, and disseminating information about government, politicians, policies and campaigns, and the intrigues thereof. It also acts as a critical link between government and the public, enabling, as it were, informed voter choices by providing fair and objective coverage of political events. Simply put, its core objective is to inform the citizenry, ensure government accountability, and provide context to policy and governance. And you begin to wonder, for a journalist who has this beat, how easy or complex is this job? And so I'm being joined this evening by a veteran of the political turf, if you will. She's actually a Rice TV correspondent, and if you must add, political correspondent. She's an author, and she's a relationship coach. Mary Chinda. Mary, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Sauchani. Okay, it's so great to see this idea that was in your heart germinate and become a tree, a life-giving tree that is, paying people, putting food on people's tables. I must say I'm really proud of you.
Oh, thank you. I'm flattered. But this is like hunting the hunter. This interview is like hunting the hunter, because for too long you've been actually
hunting everybody.
Hunting everybody. So it's my great privilege to hunt you this evening. But let me start with just something that is general. Journalism practice in Nigeria. In your candid opinion, what is the state of journalism in Nigeria today?
We've come a long way from the days of Henry Townsend's Iwirohin back in the days. Yes, I know that much because I just didn't stumble into journalism. I actually did. My first degree was mass communication, and if you do mass communication, I think it's in our second year or so that you're taught history of mass communication, and to tell you how that mass communication in Nigeria as we know it right now in the complex form of it, started off from Henry Townsend's Iwirohin back then, But before this time, our parents, your great-grandfathers and mine, they actually practiced mass communication using town criers and all of that, and traditional a communication as it were. So if we have to go down back to the days of Henry Townsend, I would say that we have done amazingly well, from just wanting to engage in interpersonal communication to mass communication, where the channels of communication have now become very centralized, and even though it's a bit more complex now. We have transmitters, and all of those things. In those days, it just used to be the town crier and his gong, But now it's more complex. So journalism in Nigeria has transcended from where it was when the founding fathers thought that this crop of black people could actually benefit from the media to where we are right now, from just writing letters and sorry, from just newspapers and what used to be, papers circulating within the church, to broadcasting, mass communication, whether print or TV. It's amazing. And then we have the new media right now. So journalism in itself, I think that we've done well in the sense that we have more professional people who are engaged in journalism right now. So I think we're doing quite well. If you want to ask me about the other parts,
I'm not asking you that. Well, yes, I think I share a sentiment that we've actually grown from the near primitive area of Townsend and up to where we are today, where the press of a button, somebody in London, in Frankfurt,
exactly,
in Germany,
exactly. And there were days. I mean, if you studied communication really well, where there was this communication expert that had foreseen, that there was going to be a time when communication was going to be cross-border. It wasn't just going to be, limited to one newscaster casting the news to a localized audience, where there's going to be cross-border communication. And that's what we're seeing right now. Intercontinental mass communication, where just someone is transmitting from her studio, the BBC studio in London, and we're receiving it. We're on a rise in the Hilton in Abuja, and the entire world. Trump is watching us, at the White House. So it's been a transition that's been interesting, to track.
And that's why we just say that the media has made the world a global village.
Yes.
Okay. It's been quite long, but not too long, but you're long enough to know your onions. And so there's been a transition from the Enugu State Broadcasting Corporation, where you cut your wisdom teeth. Your journalism wisdom teeth.
Indeed. I remember those days with you.
And then you moved from there to Lagos, actually.
Yes, Lagos.
And then it was
Lagos.
Plus TV Africa.
Yes, it was.
And then to News Central.
Yes.
And now to the almighty Arise News.
Yes.
Okay. How has your approach to political journalism changed ever since you joined Arise in 2022? If I'm correct.
Yes.
Okay. Did you actually start out as a political reporter?
Not exactly, because I used to love crisis reportage a whole lot more. Like, okay, Hannah no get bad. They want to kill somebody. I won't be there because I just had this Amampo thing, and I had.
Yeah, I remember in those days. I remember in those days. You made this big joke. You are the local Amampo. Are you achieving that dream? The local Amampo.
Well, a little bit.
That's like your mentor.
Because guess what?
Yeah.
On the day that the PDP had that showdown between Makinde and the pro-Wiki guys, and the Wiki, Bala, and all of that, I was caught in a crossfire. Gulping those canisters of tear gas made me feel like, oh my God, am I becoming an Amampo at the risk of my life and my health?
No, Amampo will just tell you. Did you see that? That was a bullet. And she will just, did you see that? That was a bullet.
But I'm here and I'm saying, you can see that's we're just being tear gas, and in the middle of the tear gas and choking, I'm still speaking, I'm still giving you updates, and all of that. And the governors are looking at me and they're like, "What kind of a journalist is this?" We'd like to have our interviews and all of that. So I didn't start out as a political journalist, but I had actually loved politics. I think it was when I got into Arise TV that our head of news, and God bless him, Somna Sambo, after he had spoken with me, and he just felt, I think you're going to do all of this energy, bringing you on board into the political deck. So it actually does a lot of service, and so we started off. And I also would give kudos to the chairman of Arise TV, Prince Nduka Bayabana, because he also had instructed that, okay, he wanted me, my first assignment was working for covering the political campaigns of former Senate President Bukola Saraki, and I think Chairman insisted that he wanted me on that, as at that time. And then from there to Atiku Abubakar, we taught about. I taught alongside Atiku Abubakar as the candidate about 32 states out of 36. I think Atiku taught several states. There was only one state that also that he didn't go to. For some reason, I think it was River State. Because the PDP.
Okay.
I didn't start out as a political journalist. I started off mainly as a crisis journalist.
More of a crime reporter.
Yeah, not really crime, but crisis. Protest and all of that. I just loved it. I mean, then my one of the first times that went viral at News Central, I brought the station such massive viewership. That video went live. We had like 150,000 views. I mean, this was in 2023 or no, 2021. So you can imagine then the internet was not, did not have all this kind of following where people just know you go to YouTube. I mean, we were a bit backward then, but we had over 150,000 views.
That was massive then.
Yes, in 2021, it's like getting 1.5 million views right now, 1 million views right now. And I was just being myself. I was just trying to just do my best, inform the people, while considering all of the other news values like correctness, objectivity, and truthfulness and all of that. So I guess those are part of the considerations that were put into perspective as I was being co-opted into the political decks at Arise TV.
Okay, there's one culture in Arise that if you are a core journalist, you will notice that, and that is the fast-paced 24/7 news environment in Arise. It bubbles with life. How has it been? How have you been coping with that and fast-checking breaking news? The breaking news is important.
Okay, so while I'm not holding a brief for Arise TV on this show, but I'm just going to share my experience because Arise TV is such an amazing workplace. I mean, I wouldn't want to work anywhere else but Arise News. Because of the kind of followership that we have, right? The management, chairman insists on hiring people that are top-notch. And that comes with, you having, to prove your cerebral matter, right? So we also have management and, and all that ensure that we fact check, stories. Sometimes I have to, because I am aware of it, I have to almost self-audit myself. Sometimes before I send the scripts, I have to look at them over and over. I have to call this faction to say, because I'd covered the PDP for 4 years. So when this faction sends a press release and says, and they say, oh, this is what they want, I'm also calling the other faction to say, please, are you aware of this? What's your response? Because I know that by the time I get to the political editor at the end of the day, he's still going to send me back and say, have you done your homework? So we all are just used to, doing things, thoroughly, and doing our homework, more of self-auditing right now. And they've put in quite a lot into training and retraining, of staff members. And you got to be good to, to work there.
Yes. In the course of your duty, the course of your assignment, you've met men and women, timber and caliber. I can even add caterpillar. You've met them all. So how have you been able to maintain objectivity when reporting on high-stake political crisis?
To be very honest, Uncle Chair, I must say that sometimes it's difficult to be in that shoe when both factions are friends with you.
Yes.
But I didn't just back a BA in mass communication. I also backed an MA from the University of Nigeria, and I'm also doing a PhD communication studies. And there's just this silent birding of truth that comes upon me or comes upon you as a journalist, to put objectivity first, to put truth first, to put the facts first, before being friends with anybody. Because the truth is, your job is on the line if you don't do the right thing.
And your
And
reputation.
politicians,
And your reputation too.
exactly, my reputation and that of a massive station like Arise. And then politicians are very selfish people. I've hung around
Not all of them.
politicians long enough to say that, or to deduce that politicians basically need you as a journalist to serve as a means to an end. They're not particularly in love with you. It's not like they love your fine teeth or your cute face. It's about doing the job. And what's the job? Getting into power, staying in power, or being on the good books of the audience or of the electorate, right? So if you choose to mess it up, and do the wrong things, or probably report lies and things that are not factual because somebody is trying to woo you with money and all of that, by the time you lose the job, they're going to move on to someone else. Yeah, that's why I say politicians are selfish. They're not particularly in bed with you. They're not particularly in love with you to be in bed with you. They're just in bed with you because they've got to. You are a public servant. You've got to serve them at the time, right? So sticking with the core values of journalism, of news reporting, news delivery, and news writing is actually, it cannot be overemphasized. It pays off in the long run.
Okay, if my memory serves me right, which it often does, I recall in 2016, you were nominated and voted as the best reporter in Enugu.
Oh my God, you remember?
I remember that. So,
Oh my
she's
goodness.
moving to national, international.
Oh my
television.
goodness.
Any milestone?
I've got
Any milestone?
I've got nominations, and then this year, because it's gonna be like the 5th year, I am putting my heart to it so that I can actually get, not just get nominated, but actually get a particular award. I'm looking at, national awards and continental awards as well. There's one that my colleague Ovietemi George won in Egypt, in December last year. I'm hoping that I'll get to do really special interest stories, human angle stories that get to win me that award by the end of December 2026.
You're looking forward to something.
Oh, yes, I am.
Well, I keep a tab on you on that.
Thank
Okay, you've
you.
covered PDP extensively. Sometimes it appear that you're just the PDP girl, so to speak.
So they say.
Because I've watched you virtually in Port Harcourt, in Water House, virtually everywhere. So what's the current assessment of the power struggles between the various factions and
It's
leadership?
it's really sad. It's like how the mighty fallen for a party that was the largest opposition party and boasted to be for a party that was the largest, a ruling party in the country and boasted to be the biggest in Africa.
That that boasted of 60 years of uninterrupted
Oh my
power of
goodness.
leadership.
Oh my goodness. It's really sad, being a political observer, how that the cookie seems to have crumbled, within the party. As of January last year, when we started off January last year, the PDP had over 10 governors. And then by the time we were celebrating Christmas, the PDP could only boast of 4 governors.
Even now,
Yes.
they should have less.
I think that the PDP still has got 4 governors because of
Adeleke has spotted.
Yes.
Okay.
Those are part of the defections.
Okay.
They had over 10 governors in January 2025. Fintiri is still there. The governor of Zamfara State is still there. And
Bala.
there are speculations that Bala is still there, that's of Bauchi, and of course the chief governor of PDP himself, Governor
Makinde.
Sheyi Makinde of Oyo State. I'm sure that the PDP leadership at the time, the NWC led by Umar Damagum, did not foresee this Gayland, this gale of defections that were going to follow. They kept asking, people kept asking that the right things be done at the time. But, people have their interests. They have where their hearts lie, and sometimes when a leader refuses to do the right thing, it's for some reason, just as they say, when insecurity lasts more than 24 hours, maybe the hands of the government, is in it. Because at those times, I remember how I would go for press conferences and we keep asking the Damagum-led NWC, particularly the chairman himself. So people are calling for, people are calling for reconciliation. Would there be reconciliation in the party, or would you actually be expelling some members of the party? And he kept stalling, only for us to see what had played out in the November 15 and 16 convention in Ibadan. Before now, between that January and November, the PDP had lost Delta State. We had a governor sheriff. The PDP had lost Akwa Ibom State, which had always been a PDP stronghold.
Yeah.
The PDP did not exactly quickly foresee that Enugu State, our Enugu State, where we're broadcasting from, was also going to be defecting, because Governor Peter Mbah was on that convention planning committee, the convention organizing committee, and I think that he was going to serve as the secretary.
Yep.
Because I kept asking them their indications that the secretary of this convention that you're planning for is going to leave, and what do you plan to do? And sometimes, because they know that Arise would always ask the tough questions, they would just say, Mary, off your mic. Off your mic, until Peter Mbah left. And it could only take someone with such a personality as Peter Mbah to have, ported, from the PDP, taking Enugu people out of the PDP to the APC, and still hope, very confidently, that he's going to win the 2027 governorship election.
Okay, but let me ask you one question, and that's about your safety, about these tear gassing and all that you experienced. But I'm looking at what, if any, can you remember and say exactly this particular coverage? Either covering nationwide protests or covering PDP political conventions that you see was most volatile.
Yeah.
That point you thought your life.
Yeah.
In fact, you want to go get out of that venue alive.
Yeah.
Which one would you say?
Yeah, I think there were two of them.
Two of them.
One was the National Convention.
There was the one in Ibadan.
The National Convention of the November 15th and 16th. Though there was no crisis eventually, but there were fears that the Wike group would show up there, and there were permutations that there might be violence. And when Arise TV sent me from Abuja, flew me to Lagos, and then of course I had to go to Ibadan by road because the airport in Ibadan was not in use.
Yeah, just under maintenance then.
My heart was skipping. That point where you ask yourself, who sent you?
Why am I here?
Why am I here? And just in case the bullets will be flying, where is your, life insurance? If anything happens to you, what would your parents do? Like, what? I need to be alive to go back home to my dad and my mom, but eventually it turned out that there was no crisis, no crisis, no tear gassing and all of that. Then the next one that my heart skipped so much, it was in that moment when the minister of the FCT drove into the PDP secretariat, and right there waiting for him was Governor Seyi Makinde and Governor Bala and the PDP chairman, Tani Moturaki. And that entire NWC squad. Ah.
And you were the,
And
you were there.
You know, they had sent us information in our press call group that when you're coming tomorrow, please, you need to pray well, say your last prayers if you have to, come with your life jacket, come with your whatever, come with your helmet. Oh God, goodness. At those moments, especially, guess what? Let me tell you the intrigue. Because I was friendly with both factions. So the moment before that tear gassing, because it main tear gassing started in the NWC hall, the neck hall. That's where it started. They had called me, the faction, the pro-Wike faction, knowing that I was not going to be biased. They had called me to say, where is Arise? Where's Arise? Where's the Arise girl? Where's the Arise journalist? So they had called myself and my cameraman and a few other journalists to the hall,
the other room,
so that we could cover. And what they wanted to do was to expel Makinde and Bala, which they finally announced much later. And whilst we were trying to say, okay, is this what is going on here? The Makinde guys, yes. And I remember a particular guy, he was the aide of the former national chairman, Umar Damagum. He said, this Arise journalist, what are you doing here? This guy carried a stick. Hey, they came after us, God, and I was live. I was reporting. I'm like, okay, so as you can see, okay, so this we're live at the neck hall, and right at this neck hall, okay, so the other guys have coming, and it's going to be a lot of catastrophe right here. We're seeing that they're sending the pro-Wike group out of the hall. And while I was saying, the next thing was a tear gas. And I tried, I was still choking, and then you got to a point where I couldn't take it anymore. And as they kept, because they forced the door open, and it was a glass door. Next thing, sir, I found myself in the bathroom. We had to take cover. Myself and the cameraman, we had to first take cover, you know, and then because those guys were coming with sticks, they were dogs, they were coming with all whatnot. They could have killed me. Anything could have happened. You know, I took cover in the restroom alongside my cameraman. At some point, I didn't even know where my cameraman was, you know, but I was in the restroom with other people. And then as soon as I could catch my breath, I was now looking out for my cameraman. Luckily, the guy was tall, and you know he could run like me, you know. And then I'm like, okay, let's go live. And at that time, the two governors, Governor Sheyi and Governor Bala, are taking over the hall, the neck hall. And then we were now live. I was just in front of the governors and I was talking. So I knew that with the DSS and everything, at least I could be safe. And that's how I did that interview with Bala Mohammed, where, you know, he commended me, commended Arise for the coverage. And then after a few moments later, Governor Sheyi Makinde would call his aides to please call me so that he could also speak. And, you know, I was very curious. I asked him, but Your Excellency, you've been friends with the former Rivers State Governor, now FCT Minister Nyesom Wike. You were in the G5. You know, when Atiku, all 5 governors, all of you said you did not want Atiku, and you stood, you were not part of his campaigns and all of that. You stood your ground. So why are you fighting with your friends right now? And you know, he's like, well, some people want to remain in another party and still hold the PDP to ransom and all of that. I don't discuss people. I'm here to discuss events, because small minds discuss people. You know, bigger people discuss issues and all of that. And that's how you went that whole day until it was 9 a.m. when it started to about 4:30 when the police came and evacuated everybody. But of course, Turaki was able to make his way into the office of the national chairman of the PDP, aided by the two governors, and that's how it happened that day. I thought I was going to lose my life on that day.
Okay, I think that's enough for that. Let's just get into your authorship. Yeah, briefly. Into your authorship, briefly, because we just have to. I can't imagine ending this conversation like asking what motivated you to write and launch your recent book,
The Single Lady Starting Over. Okay, so that book had been in my spirit since I was 27, 29, but for several years I got caught up in trying to make more money, trying to even survive, and I just said to myself, why should I write this book? To be very honest, the first manuscript of that book was first written in 2017.
My God.
Yes.
So you were still in Enugu?
Yes, I was in Enugu when I started that book. I was finishing my master's at the University of Nigeria. And I did the book cover. I remember Praise. This is a shout out to you. Amazing graphics designer in Enugu. He did a cover design of that book. And because I wanted something to motivate me, I've written like 4 chapters and I posted it on my Instagram. And the big comedian Ali Baba used to follow me on Instagram at that time. Such an amazing man, very humble. And he liked the book cover. He was intrigued by The Single Lady being the title of a book. And then my picture, small as I was then, but he posted and people reacted. People were like, I like this book, where can we get it? It was just, I had just written the soft copy. I had a manuscript, because I was handwriting then, and then I gave it to them to type. I wasn't this digital. And so after I saw the comments and everything, I'm like, this is a good thing. But guess what? A few years down the line, as I began to mature, as a woman, I began to move to transit from being a girl to being
a lady,
to being a lady, to being a real woman. So the contents changed for me because exactly the ideas changed because how I saw life at 27 wasn't how I was going to see life, in my early 30s or as I grow older. So it was about a month to the Single Ladies Conference, because we're going to do the Single Ladies Conference Lagos 1.0. We had held it in Enugu, Port Harcourt, Abuja, but we hadn't come to Lagos. And one of the speakers, who's a publisher, said to me, you have this book in your spirit. Why don't you write it down? Sir.
The motivation. Final motivation.
That was all I needed to hear. She was like my midwife in the spirit. And that book was not just written because I wanted to be author, because I sent the manuscript to my first book to my publisher in the UK last year. That was in 2025. So with that, I would come back from work at 9, 10 p.m., 11 p.m., and I would start writing. And I had a system, so I would voice for the most part, and then because I use an iPhone, it has this ability to translate the note. There's a note app there that translates your words, so I also started looking for other apps that radio journalists use to, when they're doing interviews, to translate words to text. So I started writing like that. This time I didn't for one day handwrite. All I wrote down were the chapters, and I had been writing the chapters since 2023. So I had the book where the chapters were, and 3 years down the line, it didn't really change, because what a working class single woman would face, were still the same things that she would face, whether in 2023 or in 2026 or in 2028, because when you become a woman and you've come to your fullness, you now realize that the dynamics change a little bit, because when you're 20, you have you're just blossoming. You have more suitors.
You're like,
you have more
like Africa, full of natural resources.
But as you get older, and I always say that sometimes it's better to find yourself and make that choice quite early, because you have more people coming. But as you transit, and you start getting older, what you want, your taste bud even changes, and what you want, from life changes. You have a particular mindset, which sometimes it may be difficult, for anyone to talk you out of it. So I started writing the chapter of the book, and then I've realized that 3 weeks before, it was my birthday in December 18, and I'd taken a retreat. And because I'm a serious Christian, I spent time with God, and I started asking God, okay, now I'm ready to be married. I'm ready to submit to a man, the man that you have for me. I'm willing to minister to him, to serve him, just like it was in the beginning. But what is marriage about? What do I need to even understand? It's not about the fact that you're getting old and the years are actually rolling by. But what do you want to do with a marriage? Because it's not about getting married. Yeah. I don't get married and get divorced. I want to get married, and I want to stay in the marriage happy. I want to be coupled with someone that is determined to make us work, to make our marriage work for the sake of our children and our grandchildren. But more importantly, in all of this, for our sake, for the fact that we're going in the same direction. And the Holy Spirit is speaking to me around that retreat. So by January, when this lady acted like my midwife, I started writing now. I started voicing the chapters. I aligned all the chapters, and I started voicing. And it was inspirational. The more I spoke, the more I understood what this whole entire marriage thing was about. Then the starting over, because I'm a therapist, I could, and I'd gone through a couple of heartbreaks. I could write a chapter like The Anatomy of a Heartbreak, which is chapter 2 of that book. Then the self-love, then dealing with childhood abandonment. Then the woman in the beginning formed the wow man, not just the woman, the wow, W-O-W man, which is the female version of God, on the earth, because women are the female representation of God, and the man is a masculine representation of God in the entire, universe. I started understanding what God wants to do with the marriage institution. All right. So I know that you're a religious person and you're a Christian and all of that, but that book espouses the idea that in the beginning, Adam was not the one looking for a wife. It was God's idea to give Adam a wife. Eve was not the one looking for a husband. So desperation should not come in, but she was existing as a spirit woman in the spirit, as a spirit being, before God took away the ribs of Adam, closed it back, performed the surgery, and fixed her. The need for Eve was to minister. The reason she came to this world was to minister to her husband, to alongside her husband serve the purpose of God on the earth, which is Eden, because they existed in Eden. And so the single woman is that woman that lives in the presence of God, coming to minister to a man who also lives in the presence of God, who carries the presence of God. And so when you talk about past trauma and all of that, God has a way of healing you. And again, when you do therapy and all of that, it has a way of helping present you as a present to your husband, because God's idea is that you're a present to your husband the time he presents you to your husband.
You see, the role of you play as a healing coach.
Yes, sir.
I don't know how you combine it or you balance it with the often cynical world of politics. You're a political reporter.
Yes, sir.
A political correspondent. And that's troubled waters. That's shark-infested waters. You face that, sure. And then you go into this aspect of trauma coaching.
When you're almost losing it or you're about to be carried away, you have people that you're accountable to that can call you, whip you back to consciousness. The reason is that sometimes these politicians, some politicians, they can be very randy. Yeah, sometimes some people.
Yes, I was polite in asking that question.
Oh yeah, some people will just look at you and just feel that because you're a woman, you're sleeping with these politicians or governors or whatever. In fact, I had one time, I think I was around the PDP, and you know, I thank God. I just thank God for living the kind of life that He has helped me to live. And they were having a conversation about me. And it was the big men.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and you know how that it's so easy to be promiscuous, and you know, if you're not careful, if you don't have morals, you know, people pass you off from one person to the other.
You become a
You know,
subject
and they were-
of a dinner.
I tell you, and then they were discussing, but how come nobody has been able to get a hold of Mary Chinda? How come nobody has been able to get a hold of this girl? And one of the men who at that time had been quite close to me, like he knew me, he liked my work, and he had had the privilege of speaking with me and understood that I was a minister or was a believer. And so he said to them, he said, that girl, she's a complete church girl. I said, there's nothing, he said to them, there's nothing you can do to that girl that's going to make you get her. Even if you give her all the money in the world. And truthfully, you know, I've had people throw money at me, you know, politicians throw money at me. And you know, you know, I like to make money. You know, but they just, when money is thrown at you and you just have to, you know, lose your morals for a split second, you know, and all of that. But I thank God who's helped me. It's not by my strength, it's not by my power. And the fact that I haven't gone, or I don't go, you know, into this kind of murky waters with these people and smear my brand or smear my name and all of that, it doesn't make me a better person than anybody else. I'm just saying that God has helped me.
So what stories from your father?
I'm a last born.
What stories from your father shaped you, the woman that you are today?
I think more importantly, my father's spirituality, because I take after my father physically, and I also take after his spirituality.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. And
Is he a bishop?
Oh yes, he is a man of God. He is a bishop, is a man of God. I think that the story that from my dad that shaped me is a story of his surviving. He's an only surviving male child. He lost about 8 siblings.
Oh, God.
So just having him tell me the story about how he survived, you know, and today he has 5 children, he has 18 grandchildren. I'm the only one who's single, and yet to give him a grandchild, and I'm not under pressure because he tells me to just take my time. So it's better to marry well than to marry, you know, too early and then divorce and all of that. And then how he had to do life with my mom because they were high school sweethearts. They met in college, and you know, they started life, and how he had to come out of poverty, you know, by the help of God. He got a job and all of that. So it just tells me that I have to come out of, I don't just have to survive, I have to come out of survival mode and be a conqueror, be living a better life than my father, so that I can pass on a better life to my own generation.
Okay, were you at once an international television?
Oh yes, I was. Guess what? When I left ESBS, because I was tired. You know, when Sullivan Chime contracted Jikato and then Malaike, and then I was a core member there, and then they co-opted me into that team of the experts that were supposed to revamp ESBS. And then later on, when there was a change of government, and you know, he left and all of that, and I was now doing my master's, so I was doing Sunrise FM. So I'll come over to the studio, I'll do radio in the night, sometimes I'll sleep in the studio. By 7 a.m. I'll look for where to have my birth in ESBS there. Then I'll now travel to Nsukka to do my lectures and all of that. By the time I was done and finished my thesis, as at that time, I just knew that Enugu was too small for me. How much was I ever earning?
We'll come to that.
I resigned, and then I wanted to play in the National League, you know, broadcasting.
The question was, what would be your advice to young women currently entering the field of broadcast journalism? That's the key question I want to find out from you. What would be your advice to young girls who are hoping to go into political?
Says, be determined, be focused, be passionate. Don't let anybody ever tell you that you cannot. Because, babe, you've got it in you. It's in you. Don't ever doubt yourself, and don't let anybody make you stop believing in yourself. Work on yourself, but don't ever doubt yourself.
You've been in Enugu for almost 5 days?
Over a week.
Over a week?
Yeah, over a week.
Okay, be honest. The Enugu you left and the Enugu you met.
Oh, I know for you. Enugu that time, Edika, or you might go primitive. Oh no, that's Iwirohim edition.
Talk about Enugu
But
today.
this Enugu now
Yes.
is a destination place. It is destination Enugu. Look at the hotels. Look at the schools. You know, Enugu State is that state in the southeast that has, I think, the largest number of educational institutions.
Within the capital.
I tell you, you know, then the infrastructure. Look at the international conference. Hey, God, I went to that ICC. I'm like, goodness, it can only take a Peter Mba to do this. Do you know all the time I lived in Enugu, that building was abandoned. Now look at what the government and the governor has made out of it. You know, and then the abacha, oh Jehovah, abacha, Gina plantain, all those things I always eat those days, and of course the leaves that go with it. I just love Enugu. I love Abia, I love Imo, I love all the other states. I love Abakaliki, man. I go for Enugu. Hey, Enugu, 042 Bani.
Okay.
The Merichinda brand in the next 5 years owns a content creation studio where we do documentaries and other things. The Merichinda brand has become a wife and a mother, probably 2 kids. I'm now in the family way. And then the Merichinda brand, as regards therapy, has become a bigger and a more national and continental therapist, because I mean, I run the Soul Wellness place in Abuja. It's a place where we do therapy for people that are broken and all of that. We do 1 session a week.
Like a trauma
you know.
center?
Yes, it's a trauma recovery center. You know, even though many a time I do online, because I mean, people can be very mischievous, especially men. You know, the Merichinda brand in the next 5 years should have held single ladies conferences. Thank you. And I just wanted to say thank you to our Rise TV team, my employers who gave me an opportunity to shine. God bless you. Thank you. And
Do have a lovely day ahead of you.